You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast. Hello everyone. Welcome to a special episode of the Armchair Cricket Podcast, a podcast focusing on Test cricket by armchair critics of the game. Today's episode is a special one because we are celebrating 1 year of podcasting, and this episode is the 73rd episode, so it's been quite a while, I think. I have with me Ajit today for a change, so we are sitting in the same room next to each other, just like how it began 1 year ago. And it's such a momentous occasion. We are also recording this episode on New Year's Eve 2019, and you can hear some firecrackers in the background, so it just adds to the occasion, I think. It's a wonderful feeling to be here sitting next to you, Ajit. How do you feel? What do you think?
Well, I mean, when we began, I had no clue that we would be able to put out so many episodes in the first year. I think we were conservatively targeting about 50 episodes in the first year. But because it was a World Cup year, we went on with so many episodes. Also, I think the support that we've had from our listeners is very encouraging. So that gives us more impetus to keep going. What gives me a lot of pleasure is to sit nearly in the same place where this whole exercise started with me and you around the end of 2018, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah.
And nearly the same day and the next year, we are again together recording another episode. So it will always be a special thing for me. So I would like to say thank you as well to you. So, it's been a nice journey, and we hope we can grow from strength to strength from here.
Thank you as well. Thank you. Look forward to many more of these episodes, and hopefully we get to, enjoy cricket, observing the game as well as analyzing it together with our listeners.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think listeners make a huge difference for us. Their continuous participation, like answering trivia questions, giving us suggestions on how we can improve what we do. So that really helps. So I would encourage, and I would also like to thank our listeners again to keep coming back to us with so much of their feedback, and do get involve yourself a bit more, spread the word about our podcast, help us grow, and also enjoy the game of cricket. So do you think it's a good time to start talking a little bit about cricket now?
Well, we'll do that. But before that, I would like to highlight that we have an association with the Shed Media podcasting channel. So we are very lucky to be a part of this channel, and we would like to also encourage our listeners to come on the Shed Media podcasting channel on I think Spreaker. They have a separate channel, so you are able to go there and listen to 15-16 podcasts that are affiliated with this channel. So we would like to say thanks to Shed Media podcast channel, and also encourage our listeners to come on this channel and listen not only to us but also to other podcasts. There are some very nice sporting podcasts, comedy podcasts that are on the Shed Media podcasting channel. So please do come to the Shed Media podcasting channel on Spreaker and do listen to that.
Yeah,
right?
It's a new platform. They're also growing, and we are growing with them. So look forward to a longer association with them as well.
Indeed. So now I think let's get on to the cricket, Giri. So a lot of cricket has happened since the last episode, so we have quite a lot to talk. So I would say, owing to the the festive atmosphere, let's not keep our listeners waiting too long. I would say let's keep it brief today. So first of all, let's go through the India versus West Indies remainder two ODIs. So they were the second ODI in Vizag and the third ODI in Cuttack. As far as the result goes, well, India won both the ODIs comfortably, it must be said. So Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul put up a big score, and India finished with a very strong 387 for 5 in Vizag. And then West Indies, even though they had a strong competition with Puran and Hope making a good score, they were unable to compete it, and Kimo Paul hit a bit at the end. So that gave India a 1-all equal in this series. And then the last ODI, which was played at Cuttack, was the decider. Here again, West Indies batted first and they scored 315, but India were able to chase this down. This was an above par score thanks to a lot of contributions right down the top order, but that were finished beautifully thanks to Nicholas Puran and Kieran Pollard. And 315 on that pitch was going to be a challenging score, but the Indian top order made short work of it. The top three all coming up with big scores, and then Jadeja and Thakur even though it was a bit of a nail biter towards the end, maybe the Indians did not plan this, but they were able to, sneak one in and get the series 2-1 to India. So very competitive West Indian tour of India ends with a similar scoreline, 2-1 in both T20s and ODIs. And this is a good reflection of how far this West Indian team has come under Pollard, because he's able to inject a certain amount of professionalism as well as a certain amount of, let's say, never say die attitude. We were able to see that in both the T20Is and ODIs. So it actually gives a lot of, let's say, fillip to West Indian fans all over the world, I'm sure, Giri.
Yeah, I for one I'm very happy, especially looking at the younger crop of players like Shimron Hetmeyer and Shea Hope, of course, and then the most impressive player in their squad currently is of course Nicholas Pooran. He can also keep a bit. So he's growing into I think with age, with time, he will improve the mental aspect of it, but I think he looks very good. Nicholas Pooran is a special talent. They need to nurture him. And I think the West Indies Cricket Board need to take care of their players, unlike what happened with the comeback kings like Kieron Pollard, who are just made a comeback now. It shouldn't happen to them. They shouldn't lose a few years of their international cricket. So I think it looks good for West Indies, and come next year, the T20 World Cup, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I have a strong feeling that they will be there in the top 4. They have a lot of good cricketers, so I really look forward to see them perform, and at least perform to their potential. Even 90% of their potential should be good enough, I think, for them.
Indeed.
Yeah, and Indian team, of course, the well-oiled machine that keeps moving, never stops. There are some hiccups here and there. There's some dropped catches, right, in this limited over series, both of them. The fielding has been was not up to standards, but I think it's working well with Kohli in the helm. It shouldn't be a problem for them playing next year's T20, but anything can happen. And in the upcoming series they have against Sri Lanka, another T20 series, we hear that Bumrah is coming back.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And probably also Hardik Pandya.
Yes, could be. Well, I'm not sure about Pandya, but for sure Bumrah has been selected.
Yeah, so he's making a comeback. So it only goes from strength to strength. So yeah, let's see what happens afterwards. Yeah.
Well, I mean, before I forget it, Nicholas Pooran had actually broken both his legs in an auto accident when he was much younger. That was after he had started his cricketing career. He suffered this accident, lost a whole year of his life to recovering from this accident.
Wow.
For a player who's come back from so much personal tragedy, performed the way he is today, he must be really proud of what he has achieved. And as you say, we really hope, that talent that he has shown so far is nurtured and he goes from strength to strength, right?
Yeah.
And as you say, he's an all-round cricketer, he can keep.
Yeah.
So it's always very good.
As they say, what doesn't kill you makes you strong, right? So
Indeed.
It's probably a very good example of that.
Well, I mean, I'll park that on the side. I have some objections to that, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
So, in any case, when it comes to the Indian team, I think a little bit of credit should be given to Kohli and the management. We all talk a little lightheartedly when it comes to Ravi Shastri and his management style. There are all these famous memes and jokes that we hear. But that partnership is working fine at that helm of the Indian men's cricket team, Kohli and Shastri. So they must be given a bit of credit. But this team is also now maturing enough. So the way they won the last ODI was a fantastic example of that. Jadeja and Shardul Thakur were able to rescue the team when, I wouldn't say rescue, but you could say, it was one of those close matches that India lost in the semi-final. So this team is moving on, and they are going to chase a world trophy for sure. It's an obsession, Shastri says. So we are hoping, they're able to move on, but, stay calm and stay in the moment, and they have enough skills and training behind them to take them to the trophy. So
yeah. It reminds me of when you said, the last match that India won against West Indies while chasing. It reminds me of the Indian team of the 90s or the late 80s when we were growing up. When India was in a similar situation against other teams while chasing, India would easily lose back then. Right now, it doesn't happen anymore. So India is such a good side chasing. So yeah, see how far they have come in the last 20-25 years. So it's amazing, and it's a tribute to especially the mindset that Kohli brings with him. Yeah.
Agreed. So, yes, so we really do hope they go from strength to strength as well in the upcoming years. There are multiple World Cups coming in the next 3-4 years. So, right. So, now if we were to look at the test match section, so basically we've had 3 tests in the interim. So, first one was the Pakistan versus Sri Lanka test. The second test in Karachi. We know the first one in Rawalpindi was actually a draw. But then this one again, Pakistan did a fantastic job after being behind the 8 ball, so to say, at the end of the first innings. So they batted first and they were only able to make 191 with 50s from Babar Azam and Asad Shafiq. But they were able to first of all restrict Sri Lanka to 271, which still meant a sizable lead. And in a subcontinent match, it can mean a lot, 80-run lead leading into the second innings. But Pakistan then went on to do something very unique. It has only been done twice in international cricket that top 4 batsmen in a test match innings have all scored hundreds. So the other time this happened was in Bangladesh versus India in 2017. So it's a very unique achievement. But what it gave was a complete command of the test match for Pakistan. And that meant, chasing 476, Sri Lanka had a really uphill task and they lost this match comfortably. So from at the end of second day where there was a chance Pakistan might lose this test series to completely turning it around over the next 2 days and winning it and basically getting their belief back in themselves. They have done a fantastic job. So, congrats to Pakistan team also. Now that they have cricket back at home, it's always good to be back with a winning feeling. So they're able to win the series. As far as Sri Lanka are concerned, well, they also have a few, positives from this tour. The way Oshada Fernando played, he seems to be a long-term prospect at the top of the order, maybe opening slot, maybe one down, right? And then you have Chandimal who came back, scored a 50. Matthews could not play much of a role. You have Dhananjaya De Silva who seems to be maturing a little. He scored 100 in the first test. Also the lineup, the fast bowling lineup.
Kumara especially.
Yes, exactly. Kumara did a good job at least in patches. I think he needs to grow into it. He's only 21. Then you have Vishwa Fernando, the left arm medium fast bowler.
Chaminda Vas type, yeah.
Chaminda Vas type, exactly. Yeah. That was what I was going to also bring up. So this guy seems to be doing, he seems to be a prospect for the future. With, they did not have Pradeep or the other fast bowler.
Suranga
Lakmal. So without either of them, this attack is able to still stand up and compete, toe-to-toe with Pakistan playing at home. So that was very, very, very encouraging as far as Sri Lanka was concerned. And for Pakistan, you have Babar Azam now, truly fulfilling his potential in all the 3 formats. He was sort of a little lagging behind in tests, but now that maturity is coming through. And we really hope, he's able to take it to the next level. We really wish that the next year...
I'm sure he will. I'm pretty sure he will. He has the talent. He's special.
Yeah, he really
is special. I watched some of his shots. Amazing cover drives off the back foot, It's fantastic. Even in Australia, that century he made against Australia.
Exactly. That should have been 2 centuries. It was a 90 and 100. So that was a positive. Then, of course, Azhar Ali rediscovering his form, scoring 100. Right? And then the top order bedding down. So
especially Abid Ali.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, there are so many things said about him. Why are you selecting a person in his 30s? Why are you giving him a debut? He's earned it. We've seen other examples, right? We had Mike Hussey who started late. Many other players like that. So if he has earned his chance after all the waiting and all the hard work, he's completely converted it, scored 200s here, and rightly the man of the series, right? Yeah. So
it helps having no beard, clean shaven face.
Yeah. All right.
He's the only guy in the top 5, I think.
Interesting.
Nah, just kidding. But I think he's...
Azhar Ali is clean shaven.
No, he has a beard these days.
Interesting.
Also Babar. What is it called? Is it the carpet? What's it called? George Michael type.
Sure, whatever, 7 o'clock shadow or whatever.
Okay, whatever it is.
What reminds me, I look at Babar, I can't get past the unibrow, but we'll talk about it another day. But apart from facial hair, I mean, they have so much more positives. Yeah. So Asad Shafiq needs to maybe stand up as well, and Azhar Ali need to continue with his good form. And when it comes to fast bowling, so Naseem Shah has shown he took a 5-4 in the second test in the decisive innings. So he's shown he's ready for the next level. He's ready for the international cricket. So there's a bit of tug of war going on between the under-19 team and the international team apparently in Pakistan as to whether Naseem Shah should go to the under-19 World Cup. That's an interesting decision for them to make. But he's shown that he can belong at the top level. He has pace, and with some control and maturity that comes with age, he'll be a real good factor to reckon with. We can see him support Pakistan's team or carry the load that the fast bowling load for a decade, if not more. Right?
What about this guy, Musa?
Mohammad Musa he was looking a bit raw. I think he played one test in Australia.
Yeah,
There's a bit more to. There's definitely pace.
Yeah.
But he was not immediately able to identify the lengths, or even after into his second or third spell, he was probably not able to identify the lengths. But that will come as well, right? So you have Shaheen Shafridi who's maturing nicely.
Oh, yeah.
And you have also, I think, Muhammad Abbas. You need the. If you remember the movie Ben-Hur, the chariot race in which he always says the fillies should be at the edges, and in the center should be the steeds, because for control. The fillies are able to control the chariot much better. So you can never discount Muhammad Abbas when it comes to control. And his control gives the expression to the bowlers on the other end, the faster men who are coming. So it always helps. So the one sore point for me in this series with the ball, as far as Pakistan was concerned, was Yasir Shah. I think there's something wrong. Either it's a confidence issue. He seems to be bowling with the same action, I see, but the ball seems to be landing much shorter. I don't know how to think of it, because it can sometimes, you get the yips as a leggy, they say. It's very much in your head. It's a confidence thing. So I don't think he's feeling comfortable, or he's not feeling confident. So this must be rectified. This is a match-winning bowler for Pakistan in all conditions, and he has 200 plus test wickets. And, he's not getting any younger as well. So it's time he turned that ship around a little, because with this guy clicking and bowling as well as he can, and with three really good fast bowlers, take Shaheen Shah Afridi, take Muhammad Abbas, add a Naseem Shah or a
Imran Khan or a Musa,
or the guy who bowled in the first test, the left-arm fast bowler who was in the first test.
Left-arm fast bowler.
Yeah, so they gave a debut. He's played many one-dayers, and he also played BBL previously. So he was given debut. So take any other fast bowler in that lineup, and that will be a lethal pace. That will be a lethal attack if they have a fully functioning Yasir Shah. So this is something they'll be very keen to fix. Right?
But isn't Mushtaq Ahmed their spin coach now, or is it somebody else?
I think so. I've not paid attention to who's their spin coach.
Yeah, but with if it's Mushtaq Ahmed, I'm sure he has enough.
Yeah, it'll be turned around then. Yeah. So it's a matter of time. Let's say that the Yasir Shah.
He's a consultant, I think. Anyway, yeah.
Discovers his mojo again. Right?
Yeah.
And you have Waqar Yunus, who's the fast bowling coach, by the way. So that's a fantastic team to, pull anybody out of bog. So it'll be fine. Let's really hope, Yasir Shah comes through. So this was a good, good test match to witness. And as a test match fan, it was fantastic to see Pakistan come back. Yeah. Moving on, the Australia-New Zealand test. A bit one-sided.
It was too early for me.
Too late, maybe?
No, for me it's too early anyway. Right. Anyway, it was one-sided. I think in the end, I had expected a bit more from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Especially after the day-nighter, which they lost.
Yeah.
I had expected a bit more, but yeah, I don't know what's happening with New Zealand team. I think their bowling seems okay, but their batting is not clicking at the moment.
Exactly.
Kane Williamson is not firing. I think when he doesn't, then
Rossdale also had a bad match.
Mm-hmm.
What happened is, I don't know, I mean, they were getting a chance to play at MCG Boxing Day Test for the first time since 1987. You would expect, that was a very tight, very tense draw that Australia were able to escape with the draw. I don't know if you've read this article. Mike Whitney, who was the man who faced the last over from Hadley and kept an over out of Hadley, he was the 11th man in that game for Australia. And he drew the game by keeping 6 balls of Hadley out. I think they batted the last 3 overs out, the last pair. So it was a very tense test the last time these two teams met in 1987. With such a history behind them and an entire generation of cricketers completely missing out, if not 2 generations, right? You would expect that something special would happen from New Zealand in that test match. Unfortunately, Australia were too strong for them. So, if you were to look at the scores quickly, Australia batted first. It was very much similar to the first test where New Zealand bowlers always kept control, but Australia would not give their wickets away cheaply. So, in the first test, they made 416. I think in this case, they made 467. So, it's a much better score. So, Travis had made 100 and a lot of solid contributions from the middle order. So, Labush Karne made 63, Smith 85, Wade 38, and Tim Payne, the skipper, finally, he needed a big score, so he made 79. So that meant, 467, even though they took a comfortable 155 overs over it. That was not bad. So once you've scored 467 on such a deck, it's very highly unlikely you're going to lose the test. So the onus was with New Zealand to bat well. But unfortunately, again, their top order completely let them down in the first innings at least. Because Latham made 50. There was nobody supporting him. And, facing a deficit of 467, they were 6 for 97. in the first innings. And there was no comeback from that. There were no miracles, no Watling, Santner, grand home, grand finish, nothing. So they just subsided to 148, right? That meant the test match was pretty much in Australia's hands. Surprisingly, even though they led by 320 runs approximately, Australia decided to not enforce the follow-on. They batted again. Again, the bowlers did a good job. They did a fairly decent holding job. They took wickets when possible. Australia had to bat, 55 overs almost to make 168 and lost 5 wickets in the process. But that was nothing. That was just giving time for their own bowlers to recover, it looks like, because that left enough time, right? So
or to wear down the New Zealand bowlers. Yeah.
Pretty much. So again, in the second innings, well, something special happened. Tom Blundell, who was debuting for New Zealand, made 100. His 121 is the highest score by a New Zealander in MCG tests. Before this, who was the ex-Indian coach who also opener?
John Wright. John Wright.
John Wright had a 90s. Had a score in 90s in 1987 in that test. So this is the highest score by a New Zealander. So that's a good thing. Again, the much wanted top order. Williamson lost single digits. So in fact, Williamson even made a duck. So unfortunately, the middle order did their bit a little. But then they were not going to hold an attack comprising of Stark, Cummins, Pattinson and Lyon out. Lyon always shines through in the second innings. He's really special now. I mean, I was looking at the numbers between Lyon and Ashwin. Lyon is younger and he has overtaken Ashwin in terms of wickets. He has played more tests for sure. So he's overtaken comfortably Ashwin with the number of wickets, and he's a little younger than Ashwin. So I really see, after Muralidharan, Lyon might become the first spinner to cross the 500 wicket mark. He's really good. I've always observed how he operates. He does the perfect spinner's job, doing a containing job in the first innings, first 2 days, 3 days. In the fourth and the fifth day, he comes into his own. And look, he took a 4 for here as well. So, irrespective of the conditions, irrespective of the pitch, irrespective of which continent he's playing on, he's that good a bowler. I would really love to see Ashwin also do this. Ashwin is doing it. And I really hope Ashwin's career also extends, because he's an off-spin bowler and they can bowl into 36, 38. So we really hope these two sort of finish neck to neck and both of them cross 500. Right? So it's going to be an interesting, let's say, whenever Lyon plays in the Australian 11, that much special, how special he is. For example, in the let's say end times at the end of the Boxing Day test, Vaughan suggested that Mitchell Swepson has been called into the squad, the leggy. Yeah. And he suggested maybe Lyon can be rested. And shot it out of the water, saying, "No, I want to play." Yeah. So it was very interesting. So it was a very interesting.
How many times did Shane Warne and Stuart McGill play together?
They did, I think, tens of tests.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Together? Together. They have played tens of tests. And it's always shown in those tests, McGill was more effective than Warne. But that's an argument or a discussion for another day. Yeah. So I would always say it was Warne's parsimony on one end that gave McGill his wickets on the other. But we don't know, right? So, all in all, it was a bit of a disappointing test, and it always counts. These are points that are counting, and New Zealand are losing out on that as well, right? And now there's a third test coming, which starts next week, so we really hope they come back fighting and maybe take the... It's a dead rubber, but it's still, the points count there. They don't want to lose their series 3-0 or something.
So, 120 points, so which means, yeah, they've already lost, how many points? 90 points now? Right? And 90 or no?
Yeah, it's 240 points per series, right? 3 test match series.
80 points. 80. So they can still get 40 points.
Exactly.
Right? So,
or 80 if they win it. So,
yeah, there's only 120 points on offer in a test series.
120?
Yeah.
Okay.
So which means you have 3 tests here, so and then 40. You break it down into 40 each. Okay. So they can still get 40 points. So just like England did, even though they couldn't win the Ashes, and Australia retained the Ashes, they still won the last 2 matches. So it was, 120 divided by 5 and then whatever. So something like that. So they was split. So honours were split. Okay.
All right. So going forward, the last test match, which was also a Boxing Day test, was South Africa-England. This was a really good encounter. So it was not one-sided. It swung both ways all the time until South Africa finally wrested control. So in this case, South Africa batted first and they scored 284, which was sort of a middling sort of a score. And they were dragged there thanks to Quinton de Kock's 95 and a lot of lower order contributions. So Pretorius made 33. Pretorius was debuting, by the way, Dwayne Pretorius. And Philander made 35. Philander has said that he's going to retire at the end of the series from tests. Yeah. And he's going to pick up a callback agreement with all the paperwork falling in place. Right?
He's going to put himself out of his own misery.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's good, man. Come on, he's really good.
Let's go on with the scores. Yeah.
So in this case, that meant 284, sort of middling score. They did not cross 300, 350 to put it on one side, but there was enough chance. England batted reasonably well. They looked comfortable in parts. Delhi made a 50. But then, there were a bunch of 20s and 30s. Nobody went on to make that 95 score that Quinton de Kock made. So they were only able to make 181. Then the match sort of turned South Africa's way, because South Africa were able to bat very judiciously. They got to 272. And in this case, again, there were good middle order contributions. Hendrik van der Dusen, who was also debuting, made a 50. Henrik Norke, who was sent up as a night watchman, made a very enterprising 40. And then Quinton de Kock 34, and then Philander made 46. So Philander showing off some all-round skills, which is always good.
Yeah.
So, that meant a target of 375 was not, on paper it looks very tough in a test match. But there are 5 sessions left with England, and at the end of the 4th day, at the end of the 3rd day, they were able to give enough of a glimpse that, this thing could still be swung in England. So they again came up in the expectations there. So 121 for 1 at the end of 3rd day, chasing 375. This now looks very tantalizing with all the best batsmen to come. So they took the opener. Burns made 84, and then Joe Denley made 31. Sibley also made 29. But then only Joe Root played after that. Number 4, Joe Root made 48, and nobody else played. So this I would like to give is a lot of credit to Kagiso Rabada, who was very costly. They went after Kagiso Rabada, by the way. Here again the same thing comes. Even though Vernon Philander took 4 wickets in the first innings, he couldn't take any wickets in the second. But his 20 overs only went for 35 runs. That's a lot of control you get. So as a result, I think they were able to force, in a very test match like situation, they were able to force the errors from the opposition, and they were able to get through. And Henrik Norke took 3 wickets in the second innings as well. And, to add to the 2 he took in the first innings. So that was very well executed by South Africans, and a much needed victory as far as they were concerned. They were in a 5-match slump, test match defeat slump. So they were able to pull themselves out of it. So I think you watched a few interesting spells from Philander, Giri.
I think in the first innings, I remember his figures once stood 7 overs, 6 maidens, 1 run and 2 wickets.
Good God.
That was in the first 2 spells, I think. Probably in the first and the second session. In the second innings, he looked a bit lackluster. And I heard Michael Holding say on the commentary that Vernon Philander was deliberately trying to swing the ball early on in his action and not let it swing in the last third, as they say. He was trying. The ball was swinging in the first third as well already. So the batsmen, especially Joe Root, could see what was happening. It was whether it was an outswinger or an in-swinger, and then play accordingly. And Philander, he is such a good bowler. It's going to be a big loss for the South African pace battery when he retires at the end of the series. But he just showed you what he's capable of, especially with the ball and the bat. Yeah,
for sure. But look, I mean, if he's 35.
Yeah, but he has not played a lot.
Yeah, no, but sometimes it's not about, what do they say? How long it lasts, but how nice it lasts, right? There's a nicer way of putting it. It doesn't come to me now. But in this case, even the famous quartet, Michael Holding, Croft, Garner, and those guys, Marshall may have played 80 odd tests. The rest of all have played only 50s and 60 tests, if you look at it. He's played 60 tests.
Yeah, but this guy is not a tear-away fast bowler.
No, but in his case, he keeps breaking down. Yeah. If you look at him chase a ball to the boundary, he's escorting it to the boundary. He's like me.
And he has grown a paunch now. I think he's not his fat. No, but he doesn't look very fit. He's only bowling fit, but not...
He's not a modern athlete fit. He has a paunch. He always had a paunch. And I think most of his engine power comes from there. You can't joke about it. But that apart, he's run his course. And if he's now looking to secure his future, the same for Morne Markle, the same for this guy, you can never blame them. Even for those that didn't, that may have turned their back on the South African contracts earlier in their career, I would never hold it against them, because the money they make, the security they get is something they can always look forward to, right? And he's served South Africa for a decade or more. That should be given to him, I would say, right? But looking at the rest of the attack, you have Heinrich Norke, who looks like a Stein, bowls like a Stein, and apparently curses and celebrates like a Stein as well. He has that, what do you call it, the grass mower celebration or whatever. That thing?
No, I don't think so. I don't. Stein was something else.
No, of course, okay. Stein was once in a generation bowler, if not once in a...
No, not just bowling wise, but also in terms of aggression. But Heinrich Norke is a very good bouncer.
Yes, and he bowls 150 plus, so come on.
Yeah.
So, Philander may be walking away from this 11 or the South African squad, but he seems to have left it in reasonably good hands.
Yeah,
because you have Lungi Engedi is still unfit. He's there. He's around the squad. Then you have also Pretorius, who's sort of, can fit in as an all-rounder. What you said, like a Philander, he doesn't give the kind of...
And then there's the all-rounder, Vian Mulder.
He's very young. He's
very
22,
young.
23, something like that.
Okay.
So there's people coming in. Also, I think there was a left-hand...
Buran Hendricks. No. Sipamla, yeah.
He's faster than Lungi Engedi and he's left arm.
Is he? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's fantastic. So, there are people coming through.
Yeah.
I think Buran Hendricks is left-handed, Sipamla might be right-handed.
Right-handed, yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is the Stokes look decent.
Yeah.
He might walk away and he deserves to walk away if he chooses. But all in all, another very encouraging test as far as South Africa are concerned.
Yeah. But one other point I wanted to mention is there is some bug that's been, moving around in the England dressing room apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So the beginning of this match, or just before the match started, I think Jofra Archer and Stuart Broad, they were not feeling well. And then during the match, I heard that Joe Root as well as the keeper, Butler, they were both unwell.
I think some sort of a stomach bug or some sort of a flu.
Yeah.
The spinner, Jack Leach, was throughout from the beginning of the practice matches all the way to the end of the first test. He was confined to his hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what sort of a bug this is, but some sort of a gastrointestinal bug is what I understand. Yeah. And it seems to be running through not only the players, the support staff also suffered.
Okay.
During the first test, apparently.
So
Silverwood, Collingwood, all of these people also had.
Could it have played its part then? This
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure they did. But considering how unwell they were, also maybe you have a good point there. So they were able to come out and still fight.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
It just goes down as a line in somebody's report that these guys had the flu and they were struggling. But Jofra Archer was targeted, but he was able to come out and take a 5-4. They actually went after him. He bled more than 6 and over in the second innings. But it didn't matter. He never stopped fighting. Stuart Broad showed his control. Anderson had a good comeback. He took the wicket of the very first ball of the test, right? When he bowled.
Yeah.
So these are still fine. I mean, Anderson and Broad, I don't know how long they'll go together. At least Anderson, we expect, will go sooner than Broad.
Yeah.
England look okay.
But they've played 150 test matches, 300 matches between them.
Almost.
Yeah. I mean, but that's completely unheard of anyway.
Yeah.
So they have their next match. When is that starting? Next week, I think, right? Or is that still this week?
Nah, it's going to start in the coming
Newlands, right?
Yeah, Newlands.
So it's going to be a fun match, especially because it's Vernon Philander's home ground.
Home ground, indeed.
And he always does well in that ground. So
it's a mamba. It's a green mamba. They talk about the pitch, right? So it's going to be good. It's probably a shortened one, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So you can't take your eyes off it.
Yeah.
So, now moving on, if you were to look at some of the other news. So, Ben Stokes was crowned the Sports Personality of the Year 2019, and he was also awarded an MBE in the New Year's Honours List for his role in the World Cup as well as in the Ashes. So, let's say his rehabilitation is complete. The folks hero that England
was
team
there ever
wanted.
a question?
Yeah, after
just kidding.
After some punch up and stuff, some things were said and done. But he's back. He's back as he deserved.
Perhaps he needed that phase or episode in his life.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. That probably gave him some perspective and some maturity, right? Then you have Elysse Perry, who's now probably the most accomplished cricketer across the entire planet, and she's for the second time been crowned as the ICC Women's Cricketer of the Year. Very special player, and we really hope very special all-round sportsman we hear.
Fast bowling all-rounder.
Indeed. So we really hope she goes from strength to strength from here. I mean, as far as rumours go of every change in South African bureaucracy or coaches, A.B. de Villiers is now being again spoken to whether he can play for South Africa, at least in the World Cup 2020. So we'll have to see how that goes. So Boucher and the skipper Du Plessis both have confirmed that they are in touch with him. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of South Africa, Davids led the Paarl Rocks to the MSL 2019 title. This was again Faf Du Plessis' team. he was leading them. So it's also a shot in the arm for him before the test. This happened just before the first test. So they were all probably in the right.
Speaking of Mizansi Super League,
exactly.
I saw some highlights the other day, and there was a short snippet of Tabriz Shamsi. Did you see his new trick? Not the shoe, but the real trick. He did a magic trick. Yeah.
He converted a red scarf to a stick, right? Magic stick. I saw it.
So he's bringing new stuff now to his celebration.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Always. Why not?
But wasn't what's this guy, man? Leg break bowler, the old
Imran Tahir.
Yeah, wasn't he part of this winning team?
No. I think he was in the opposition. He was in one of the other teams. I don't think it even qualified. So.
Okay, I'm not. I mean, I didn't follow it so closely, but well done to to Plessis team. Yeah.
Indeed. Moving on, BCCI under a certain Mr. Ganguly seems to now have embraced the 4-team ODI tournament from 2023 that they were opposing. So initially they said it will toy with our Future Trust program. We made all this plan, blah blah blah. Now suddenly they're saying between them, Australia and England, they have made a plan to have a yearly ODI Super-series with an invited 4th team. So this is the top 3 showing their clout again.
Elite club.
Yeah. So it comes as a bit of a surprise. From 2021 they want to already start playing it. So we'll see how this shapes up, but reeks a little bit of cronyism. But let's see.
Just like the rugby thing they do. Super Sixes, isn't that called the Super Six?
Yeah.
Just like that, yeah.
This was... ICC wanted to table an event where 4 teams played it, and these guys seem to have taken... They did for themselves, so to say.
6 nations, yeah. 6 nations, so it will be 4 nations. Whatever.
Super series. So, let's see how that goes. It sounds like, in my own mind, like a throwback to how Australia used to have these 3-team one-day tournaments that lasted 2 months. Benson and Hedges, those sort of... What I would like to see, if possible, there would be 3 teams, and occasionally these Benson and Hedges had matches going on with a test match sandwiched in between and so on. I would like to see if they're able to, with 3 teams in the same country, or 4 teams, maybe they can just go away, play a couple of test matches amongst each other, because there are 4 teams, so there can be 2 test matches held, and then you continue with the one-day tournament. Then, the test match fan
mix things up a bit,
the test match fan in me would be very happy, but we'll see how that goes. And then, a little bit of unfortunate development. Bangladesh's Pakistan tour hangs by a thread, it looks like. Because, what was proposed was they had a T20 tour, which was augmented by a test tour. So, first they said, we'll only come play the T20. By they, I mean the Bangladesh Cricket Board. They said, we'll only come play the T20. Pakistan Cricket Board rightfully asked, if you can come play the T20, why not play the tests? Then, now they are sort of dithering. They probably don't want to even come play the T20s now. So, it's sort of hanging by a thread. It's supposed to all kick off in like 10 days' time. I don't know how it's going to go. But sounds a bit weird. But then, each team has to make its own decision as to when it's ready to tour Pakistan and whether they feel comfortable. So, let's say the reason given by the Bangladesh Cricket Board was that they found the sort of, the claustrophobic atmosphere which they would be subjected to. No freedom, no chance to go out of the hotel whenever you want, always under protection, a cordon of protection and those things. They probably felt it was a bit too much to deal with. I don't know what to think of it, Giri.
On the back of what happened in New Zealand, remember that? They went through some tough period there.
Exactly.
I think they may have a point, but it's down to them anyway. So
no, but that's a good point that you brought up, because they did suffer a little bit of a trauma when they toured New Zealand. So maybe it might be fresh in their minds. So we'll see how it develops. Among other things, so in the New Year's honours list, Queen's New Year's honours list, a certain Clive Lloyd has been knighted finally.
Yeah?
Yeah. I was very surprised that it took so long.
Okay.
But he's finally been recognized for his services to cricket. So it's a very well-deserved accolade for such a giant of the game.
Yeah, literally,
and, Yeah, literally. And somebody who won 2 World Cups, it was silly to not knight him. I don't know what are the extenuating circumstances that prevented him being knighted so far. I would have expected he would be knighted in the 90s or something. But that's me.
I don't know if he cared about it anyway.
No, he's been a long-term resident of England. He's been living in England since he started almost...
No, my point was, I don't know whether he actually cared about getting a knighthood or whatever, so...
might be he was a bit too much of an anti-establishment man. It could be. Okay. So, we don't know. But, yeah, congrats to Sir Clive Lloyd. Right? And then, Peter Siddle, the Australian paceman, has decided to hang up his international boots. So, a journeyman and a thoroughly a thoroughly committed team man, they say. All his ex-teammates talk only positive about him. So it's very nice to see, old school cricketer. Again, 60 odd tests, 220 odd wickets, 216.
Real workhorse.
Yeah. Exactly. One of those people
who survived on bananas.
Basically, towards the end of his career, yes, of course.
A vegan
Banana
as
man.
well. A vegan, yeah.
Vegan.
Yeah.
So again, and a shining light to all those who think, playing cricket with a different diet is still possible. Him, Virat Kohli. So it's very nice to see. And we wish him all the best going ahead with his career and rest of his life. Right? And of course, Central Punjab, the team from Pakistan, the first class team from Pakistan, has won the Quaid-e-Azam trophy. So congrats to them as well. And of course, in the last sort of news that I want to bring up in this section, ICC is now considering mandatory 4-day tests from 2023.
Mandatory.
Yeah, and players are completely against it.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see how the die falls. It's still very early to speculate about it. Just thought, we'll bring it up.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in another episode because I have some points there.
Interesting.
And we'll talk. Yeah.
Interesting. So, now let's quickly move on to the trivia section. So, the trivia question from the previous episode was, when was the first ever Ranji Trophy game played? Who are the participants? And there is a very dubious or a ignominious record that still stands from that game. So, what is that record? The first ever Ranji Trophy game was played between Madras Presidency and Mysore Kingdom in 1934. It started and ended on November 4th. That's the ignominy. So it is the only first class match in India to have finished in a day.
So all 4 innings were played on the same day.
Okay. Yeah. It was a terrible score. I mean, I don't even want to go to it. So there were a couple of double-digit scores. There were 3 double-digit scores. So anyway, at the end, Tamil Nadu or Madras Presidency, as it was called, then won this match. And then going on to the trivia question of this episode. So we know Abid Ali achieved something really special, right? He scored a 1-day and a test match debut 100. So that's a really unique achievement. Maybe he gets a chance to play T20s and who knows, even he does that. But is he the first cricketer to have done this? That's the question. Is there another cricketer who seemed to have achieved this feat? Right? You have to think a little parallelly for this. And this question was given to us, or the idea for this question came from Nakul Pandey from Guerrilla Cricket Podcast. So we would like to say thanks to him. Right? So this brings to the end, let's say, the normal service as far as this podcast is concerned. But Giri?
Yeah. On this special occasion, celebrating our first anniversary, we have some... we would like to express some gratitude to a few people who have been participating in our episodes, contributing in one way or the other. To name a few, we would like to thank Edges and Sledges podcast, DJ and Varun. Thank you both for joining us on a few episodes there. We would also like to thank Alok Prasanna Kumar from Cricket Kannadiga podcast. We would also like to thank Arham and Abdullah from Down the Ground podcast, passionate Pakistani cricket fans. Thank you guys. We would also like to thank Nakul Pandey and Tasneem from Guerrilla Cricket. Adam and Rick from Cricketers New Zealand. Thank you guys. And Aditya from Fourth Seat podcast. And Jonathan from Wrong End of the Stick podcast. And James from the Full Toss blog. Thank you guys. We also have a few other friends who made some contribution to a few episodes, like Karna, Chetan, Malhar, Sarthak, and of course Yogesh, who also very actively participated in answering our trivia questions quite regularly, to be honest. So thank you guys very much. A special note of thanks as well to Guerrilla Cricket, who have been supporting us, who have also been making our podcast popular. Also Guerrilla Cricket South Africa in particular, who played a few of our episodes during innings break or lunch break and those kinds of things during the South Africa series. Thank you guys.
Well, I would like to say a thanks also to our families.
Of course, I forgot. Sorry.
Putting up with this, this obsession we have and turning it into a podcast. The support and the understanding they've shown is tremendous for us, and we would like to say thanks to our families. And last but not the least, of course, the fans who follow the podcast and give us this fillip every time we sit in front of a mic to talk. We always think of you guys, and it always gives us a lot of pleasure to interact about our favorite game, with other like-minded people out there. So we really hope, you continue listening to us. Maybe give us a fillip. Let one of your cricket friends know that you have this podcast that you can also listen to. So thanks a lot to all of you, and we hope we continue delivering and we are able to make a better effort of it in the upcoming year. So having said all that, we would like to close the podcast by wishing all our listeners a happy new year and a prosperous one, year 2020. Giri?
Happy New Year to everyone. Best wishes from us, and look forward to talking to you again in one of our episodes in the new year.
Mm-hmm.
And take care everyone.
All right. It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from him. Bye-bye. You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.